Shalom Aleichem, everyone. I hope we're enjoying the summer. I hope we had an easy yet meaningful fast yesterday on Mevaseret. And I wanted to share with you a brief but important idea, perhaps two ideas, when it comes to our parsha, Parshas Pinchas. So the Torah tells us, "Vatikravna benos tzlavchat." Benos tzlavchat approached Moshe Rabbeinu and said, "Our father died. He had no sons. Why should we in our families be deprived of a nachala in Eretz Yisrael?" Moshe Rabbeinu did not know the halacha. It eluded him. He goes to Hashem and he says, yes, indeed, Cain benos tzlavcha dobros. And the Medrash Rabbah, Osiot on our parsha, makes a very striking comment about the role of women in general, because we know from the time of Shibud Mitzrayim to the time of the Geula and entry into Eretz Yisrael, in the process of the 40 years in Midbar, the Nashim had a very, very prominent role, and that's found in this parsha as well, and the Medrash emphasizes the point. That, the Medrash writes as follows, Osan Hador, in that generation, Hayu Hanoshim Godros, Ma Shahanoshim Portsim, that which the men breached, that which the men violated, the women went ahead and cured, they went ahead and corrected. So, for example, we find by the Egel Hazav, Parku Nizme Hazav Asher Ba'aznei Neshechem, the men wanted to take the jewelry from their women to give over for the Egel Hazav, V'lo Ratzu Anashim, and the Nashim said no, Umichu Be'Ba'aleihem, and they refused their husbands. They said, nothing doing, we are not going to allow and facilitate our jewelry to become vehicles of Avodah Zarah. And then the Medrash continues, V'chein b'meraglim, Shotziu Diba, the Meraglim were Motzi La'az on Eretz Yisrael, and they got punished. And the Medrash emphasizes it was the Ish, the men who got punished, V'lo Isha. And the women know, because the women wanted Eretz Yisrael. They were not part of this Atzas HaMeraglim. The Meraglim were not reflecting the Ratzon, the will of the women. That was uniquely a men's failing, and not that of the Nashim. And then we have Aval HaNashim. When it comes to Nashim, no, B'nos Tzlavchad were not just this one family, they were representative of Nashim in general. Aval HaNashim Korvu Levakesh Nachala Ba'aretz. And that's exactly why the Medrash says, Lekach Nichtava Parsha Zu Samuch Lemisas Dor HaMidbar. We just read about the entire death of the entire Dor HaMidbar, and that's exactly why the women, the story of B'nos Tzlavchad is here, because it's emphasizing and teaching us that Partzu Ha'anashim, the men breached, V'gadru Ha'anashim, and the women cured the breach. The women were the teeth. And we find this throughout. Chazal understand B'zchus Nashim Tzidkanios, Nigalu Avosechem, and indeed we find this already during the time of Klal Yisrael in Mitzrayim, where once again it is the women who wanted to procreate, who wanted to maintain the future of Knesset Yisrael. The men, in a certain sense, had given up hope. And perhaps, just to get a little bit of an insight over here, I think this highlights perhaps something very significant between the difference between men and women, and how women are so crucial in supplementing men, in complementing men, in curing the inherent failure that some men have. Men, I would argue, because perhaps they feel they have the ol of parnasa on them, they have the ol of supporting the family and what have you, men are pragmatists. And they go about life decisions in a very, very pragmatic fashion. They need to make sure there's parnasa, that there is a proper home, there's food, there's all the pragmatic things are taken care of. And then you have the nashim. And the nashim too are pragmatic, and of course I'm generalizing. But the nashim, I think, will add a flavor of idealism, will add a flavor of true. It's going to be a challenge, it's going to be difficult, but don't worry. We'll overcome. We'll deal with those challenges. I will be there to support you. I will propel you, and I will help you in everything that needs to be accomplished. The women sometimes will go ahead and allow men, and themselves, of course, to overcome that sense of pragmatism. And that was the environment of Mitzrayim and the environment of Midbar, that the women saw that there was something ideal, something tremendous that could be accomplished. And the men were mired in practicalities. Why can we can't have more children? They're all going to be destroyed. The Mitzrim, Paro is going to throw the boys into the Yaor. How can we go ahead and continue without Moshe Rabbeinu? They try and build an Egel Azov. Go into Eretz Yisrael with the giants, with the warriors. It's not shaykh. It's not practical. It's not realistic. And the women were there every step of the way saying, might be difficult, might be challenging, but we can persevere. We can push ahead. We can make it happen in Eretz Yisrael. And we find that today a lot as well. Men who have the old, they perceive themselves having the old of Parnasa, Aliyah, this challenge, that challenge. Sometimes we men get mired in the muck of practicality. And sometimes it's the fresh look of the Nashim Tzidkanios that allow us to break through, that allow Jewish mishpachos to think bigger, to think greater, and achieve tremendous things. And I believe in that sense, again, it's a generalization, but in that sense, the Nashim Tzidkanios cure the ills, are go there, Masha Ha'anashim Portzin, and they supplement, they complement perhaps the inner weakness of men. And that is that pragmatism. You need to be pragmatic, you need to be practical, but you also need sometimes to break out of that sense of pragmatism. And that I think is a very, very important yesod. One other yesod I just want to share, and that is right on the heels of this story of the Benos Tzlavchad. We are told that Moshe Rabbeinu approaches Hashem and he says, okay, it looks like this door is dying out and I'm not going to be the one to bring Klal Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. It's time to find a successor to me. And Rashi brings, the Medrash brings, that once Moshe saw that Benos Tzlavchad were looking for a successor to their father, so he says it's now time. If the Benos Tzlavchad can be Yoresh Tzlavchad, then now my children should be Yoresh me and be my successor in leading Knesset Yisrael. And comes along Hashem says to Moshe, and the Medrash emphasizes, no. It's not going to be your children. This is Osiyah Dalet in the Medrash Rabbah. It's not going to be Banecha. It's not going to be your children because your children were not the most worthy of this mission. Who was the most worthy of this mission? The most worthy of this mission was going to be Yehoshua, because it was Yehoshua that was Osek Batorah. It was Yehoshua that sat by you, that was Mishares you, that every single Mashkimu Mariv, every single night, every single morning, he set up the base medrash. He set up the benches in the base medrash. He set up the tables in the base medrash. He was there by your side the entire way through, and therefore, Kachlecha es Yoshua ben Nun. It was going to be Yoshua ben Nun that was going to carry on your legacy. So a friend quotes from the Sefer Migdash Mordechai. It says, V'tzarech and Gadol. What exactly was Moshe? This is Moshe. Moshe's looking, the Anav Mikol Adam. Moshe's looking that it should be his children that succeed him. What exactly Moshe? Moshe, that's not his style. He's an Anav. He's looking out for his own. That's against everything we know about Moshe. So comes along the Migdash Mordechai. This is a beautiful idea. He says, no. Moshe understood that it wasn't. His children were not worthy. It was going to be Yehoshua. And he was doing this. He was asking for it in order to get the no. In order for Klal Yisrael to see that he was getting the no. Because we know, the Rambam tells us, that there are three ksarim, there are three crowns in Klal Yisrael. There is Keser Malchus, there is Keser Kahuna, and there is Keser Torah. When it comes to Keser Malchus, that is inherited. That is passed on from father to son. That's a Yerusha. When it comes to Keser Kahuna, that's also passed down. The father's a Kohen, the child's a Kohen, the next son's a Kohen. That is passed down, Yerusha. But that's not true when it comes to Keser Torah. When it comes to Keser Torah is not a Yerusha. Keser Torah is a Morosha. It is not an inheritance. It is a heritage. It's a heritage that belongs to all of Klal Yisrael. And who ultimately is going to be leading Klal Yisrael in Torah? It has nothing to do with Yerusha, and it has only to do with meritocracy. And that's the message. On the heels of Benos Tzlafchad, where they were Yoresh, and they did get a Nachla in Eretz Yisrael, Moshe says, why not me? Not because he expected it. He knew what the answer was going to be, but he wanted to teach us a very, very fundamental lesson. And that lesson is that when it comes to the Morasha of Torah, when it comes to that Morasha, that's for everyone. And who's going to carry on that Keser Torah? Who's going to be adorned in that Keser Torah? The answer is those who are most deserving, those who are most invested, those who sit on the side, sit next to Moshe Rabbeinu and organize the Beis Medrash, and are in the Beis Medrash day in and day out. Those are the ones who are going to carry on that legacy. It's not an inheritance, and that's the core message. So we have on the one hand the idealism of the Benos Yisrael, of the Benos Tzlafchad that help us men get through. And then of course we have the unique role in our relationship to Torah, which is not a Yerusha. It is a Morasha. That's something that we deserve, we merit, we earn. And that is why Yehoshua is going to be the one that carries on the legacy of Moshe Rabbeinu. Have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos Kodesh.